Most of us think of democracy in the West, we think of something that is deeply cherished. But that's not true any longer. People under the age of 40 in Europe and in the United States, they're not so sure they like democracy. Poll result after poll result indicates to us that younger people are sick and tired of how slow-moving democracy is and how disappointed they are that this idea that's supposedly so wonderful is not producing results with respect to climate change, for example. So Chelsea Kohanek and I got this idea. We are on a personal mission to try to get people interested in being more oriented toward critical thinking. And we started thinking about how related critical thinking is to the survival of democracy. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about right now. So poll result after poll result started showing us that younger people are distressed about the idea of having something called a democracy, but then it doesn't solve the problems that they're concerned about. So we've always been very alert to how important critical thinking is to consumers and to voters, but we'd never thought about it being something even bigger than that. Chelsea and I are friends of democracy, and when we saw those poll results, first we were startled, and secondly we were concerned, like, where's the country headed? What are people's reactions going to be when they have this sense that democracy doesn't produce? So we took our interest and passion in critical thinking, and we thought, does critical thinking play a role in strengthening democracy? And the more we thought about it, the more we thought, hell yes it does. Critical thinking clearly has benefits for processing any kind of advertisement, because part of advertisement is exaggeration, emphasizing certain attributes and ignoring problems. It's valuable for voters because all these people are trying to get you to vote for them and not the other person, and in the process they engage in all kinds of manipulations that are disgusting but effective. For example, politicians surround themselves with children whenever they can, because who doesn't like a picture of children? Vote for me. I know how to take pictures of children and to sidle up next to them and get you to vote for me. So critical thinking, we know, has uses for individuals in their lives, at work and at play. But then we thought, oh my gosh, think about democracy. When we talk about democracy, what are we talking about? Voting, freedom of speech, freedom of movement. We're talking about belief in law and not violence to solve problems. We're interested in, if we're going to have a strong democracy, we have to have these institutions of democracy. We have to have, for example, civilian rule. Think of how any democracy would be disrupted if the military decided, well, we think we should run the country. If they thought they should run the country, they will run the country. Look at the weaponry. What are the rest of us going to fight them with? Words? Not very effective. So you have all these uses for critical thinking, but it can make such a contribution to democracy. In fact, the more we thought about it, if you don't have people who have certain critical thinking abilities, your democracy's horrible. Just calling it democracy and celebrating twice a year, that's not going to create any kind of effective processing or working. So we're writing a book that's designed to say democracy needs critical thinkers. Please join the tribe. Well, why does democracy need critical thinkers? Look, if you believe in rule of law, but people's thinking is so toxic, so tainted, so weak, that when they think, they're on a jury, but they end up making decisions based on the clothes people wear, or based on the fact that they like somebody's hair and not somebody else's hair. We had a friend one time who was on a trial, didn't understand anything about the trial, and ended up voting for one side rather than the other because one side had an attorney that had dandruff. And our friend would see this dandruff floating down, and she would think, well, anybody who'd choose somebody like that, they must be in the wrong. That's the kind of sloppy thinking that democracy and its institutions can't afford. What I'd like to do in the next segment that we share with you is, I'd like to talk to you specifically about what it is that the institutions of democracy receive as a result of having critical thinking abilities. Thank you.